Hello, everybody. We've had technical difficulties today, but we've overcome them. So we're here, we're recording, and we hope you enjoy this. Yeah, this book is Rosy Rosie, okay, and it's a story about the Proverbs 31 wife, the virtuous wife. Her price is far above rubies, is the way it starts out, and that's the necklace that that Rosie's wearing there. Rosie and her husband Joseph, they're kind of old folks at this point in the story in the beginning. But he's thinking about the first time he saw her, and she's thinking, back when they got married, and so the present time is the future for them, and but they're thinking about the past, and so you see on the table there, you see "Be Free," uh, one of the little trinkets from that story. She's actually a spelling bee champ too. That's on the wall, and but you see a silver basket full of golden apples. That's a biblical reference also. Another story for another time, but it's inside a silver frame and whatnot. But and you'll see she has the throw there on her lap that was presented to her on her wedding day, and that was many years ago. And she's taken care of it and still has it and that kind of thing. And so the inspiration for the story uh, is the Proverbs 31 wife. But we were thinking about a character name. You got to have a word. You got to have a character. And so my youngest granddaughter was born, and her middle name was Rose, and we're like, oh, we can call her Rosie, as a nickname, and so on. And so then we had like Rosey Rosie, a happy disposition type person, and it's kind of a play on words, Rosey Rosie. It's kind of like Abel, words that kind of sound the same but have different meanings and that kind of thing. So we've talked about that in the past and what that is and whatnot. So we won't really go into a whole lot of that, but uh, what this book is about. So next, so in the book, is a pair of cardinals appears on every page, and cardinal. You see a cardinal. It's some symbolic of remembrance, remembering a person or an event or a love in your life or someone that was dear to you. It's a kind of a Christian thing, and so if you're not a Christian, it probably won't make a lot of sense. But if you are, then you'll understand this a little bit better, knowing what the symbology is. So, Rosy Rosie overview. We got the introduction out of the way. We're going to step through pretty much each scene along the way, have a little bit of a discussion about it, and then reveal what the moral of the story is, and then a summary with how you can get the press release and order the book or contact us if you're interested. So this page is about the happy memories that Rosie and Joseph have. Her memory is of the wedding day, and his is of the first time he saw her. Um, it's kind of a blending of Proverbs 31 and the Song of Solomon. There's the lattice. He's kind of hiding behind the lattice, seeing her, and there's the cardinals on top of the lattice and that kind of stuff. And for him, I think it was love at first sight. But there's the Be Free, ant and bee on the frame on the wall. The ant and the bee are, symbolic of organization and working together and work, getting things done because winter's coming and you got to survive. And so they work. Each one works, together in its own within its own kind for survival. And that's what Rosie and Joseph do. They're a team. They're a pair. They work together and they accomplish many things. And the statistics show, believe it or not, the younger you get married, the more likely you are to be successful. Married people earn more money. Together, they combined, they are able to do things that other people can't do. They have their health is better. They have fewer worries, anxieties, things of that nature. Not saying that married people don't have these things, but in general, compared to the rest of the population, being married and being married young is actually a good thing. And so, you also you want to you want to prepare yourself for that. You want to be as as wholesome and clean as you can on your wedding day. So anyway, the story is kind of touches on all of that. It starts out, Rosie's her reminiscing. She's reminiscing about her youth, and she's a young girl here, um, probably right at teenager, preteen. She's learned about dirt and seeds and planting and that kind of thing. She's using what is commonly called the broadcast method for planting. She tends to her garden. She um, waters her garden. She weeds her garden. There's a couple of lessons here. You plant a single seed, it looks lifeless, but before you know it, something life comes forward. Green shoots come up, they're alive. Eventually, they bear fruit, and you don't just get back one seed, you get back more seeds than what you planted. And hopefully, you've planted something that's good, and you have a harvest of something that's beneficial and good for you. If you plant weeds, you're going to get weeds. And so she tends to her garden, and so she understands the concept of planting and sowing and reaping and that kind of thing. And so she also understands the concept of getting weeds out of the garden. And so you have to be able to do that in your spiritual and personal life. You plant good seeds, and if weeds come along and you get thoughts or actions that aren't good, you got to weed those out. You got to get them out of you and stick with the best approach. Watering the crops in the physical world is, we understand that's easy enough to do, but watering your spirit is basically staying in the Word, studying the Word, and focusing on God, and Spirit will provide. You'll thirst and you'll be satisfied. That Word will satisfy you. So, yep, here she is as a young girl. She's spinning wool and flax. That's one of the things that the Proverbs 31 wife does. She's making cloth for her family to have clothing. She can sew, she can stitch, she can do all of these different types. She has a spinning wheel and a distaff, and she spends time making flax and wool. In this particular case, I guess you could do other materials, cotton or whatever, but that flax and wool are what's referenced in the proverb. And so there's a display of her what she's made. There's flax and a stack of that, and there's wool, and we use the rainbow colors because that's God's symbol of mercy, and so He gives Rosie unique abilities. He's merciful to her. He's gracious to her, and he blesses her, and she's a good kid, and she's growing up. So yep, here she is. She's getting a little bigger, and she's turned into a young lady, and Joseph, he's just enthralled with her, right? He's like, he respects her. He's a good, clean kid. Symbolic of the white rose. The white rose is a symbol of purity, and they're both modest. They're not, they got clothing. They aren't gaudy in appearance. They're good, clean, wholesome type people. Hopefully you want your child to grow up to be a modest person. Lord knows, lots of parents don't do that, and then teach them modesty, and then something occurs that's not what they wanted, and then they have to deal with it. So, but you got to plant those seeds. Modesty is one of them, at an early age, and so you got to plant it early, and they got to understand that that's what's best for their life. So here she is. Excuse me. She's in the garden. She's praying for her future husband, her beau, Joseph, that he'll have God's favor. And she's this is where she goes. This is where she prays. This is where she meditates. She's God is her focus. Joseph and what are her second, and then third is her her crops and her animals. Obviously, Oscar here, he's a deer. He comes around. He's obviously befriended her, and Oscar is kind of a play on words too, because the word Oscar actually means deer. And so, so if you know someone named Oscar, well, that's what that's about. But this is a good scene here. You see the pair of cardinals in the background there flying about, and it's just a beautiful scene. Tropical plants and roses and whatnot growing everywhere. This is her in the rose garden with a hose. Down south we call them hose pipes. Up north we call them garden hose. But you get the idea that she's watering her crop, her roses, and her garden. She has every book has 10 letters carved in stone. This particular one has the word rose garden carved in stone. It's 10 letters, and it's just kind of a throw to the Mosaic covenant and the instructions. Not that we're trying to be legalistic and control anyone, but those are pretty good guidelines. If you don't steal and lie, you're probably going to wind up not in trouble. So yeah, you might want to try to teach those to your kids and get them kind of thinking about that. Because they're definitely going to encounter those types of people and those types of opportunities among the others that they'll probably encounter. But there's a turtle dove on top of the stone, symbol of peace and hope and love and innocence and purity. And Rose is definitely that. And she's innocent and pure, and she has divine intervention in her life. And so this is what you're looking for your children. This particular scene is the cross with the pastel rainbow. We took that from Abel. We were doing Rosey Rosie, so we figured, well, we might as well get something from some other Abel and just use it too. There's the church, and the church, this is an actual church in Georgia. My daughter saw it along the road one day, and there's a tree out in front of this church, and it has a branches similar to this, and it's holding up its foliage is shape in the shape of a heart, and it's really kind of neat. I mean, um, you know, a tree with a heart symbol in front of a church. I mean, the message there is what God loves you. I mean, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. But you have to actually be looking for it. There's probably lots of people drive by that church all the time, never notice. But then there's people who do, and so the ones that do, well, it probably impacts them like it did us. And we thought, well, this is good enough. We can put it in the book. So, Rosie's in the garden. She's trimming away the dead branches, and that's another aspect of sowing and harvesting and reaping. The fruit, if you will, the roses, berries, raspberries, blackberries, those kind of things. They grow on new canes. A couple year old canes is what you're going to get, and then once they bear, some of them die, and they need to be taken out, and so if you're not bearing fruit, well, God does the same thing. He just kind of trims you away. And so you want to take your God-given talents that you have, that God, provides you with, and you want to use those, to spread the word or reach other people or whatever your talent is. I don't know. Some people can sing, some people can write, some people do, they visit, they pray. There's all kinds of different talents that different people have, and you know what yours is, or it will be revealed to you what yours is. So, um, so this is good. This is a good page. This is a good page here. Uh, the cardinals are in the background. They're preparing their nest for this spring, and they're preparing their nest for the coming season. So this is the season is the further along now. The cardinals have their nest. Rosie has the blue rose. It signals the passing of winter to her. There's the nesting pair. But her garden is her sanctuary, and I can't emphasize enough that it's important, whatever your thing is, that you have some place that's peaceful, that's quiet, that's away from the hustle and bustle of all the things that life has. If whatever that is, if it's for me, I like my study, I like my library, I like to read, I like to go out in my garden. I have a big garden, but for the other people, it may be something different. But you need that time alone. You need that time to meditate and pray and reach out to God and let Him know who you are, so He knows who you are. But anyway, this dress, the illustrator came up with a rainbow dress. I think it's just gorgeous. I think it's a beautiful dress, and I don't think I've ever seen one like that. And so it's a good illustration. It's a lot of symbology, but it's a good page. This is Rosie early in the morning. She's up. I mean, she's thinking about her beau. I'm sure he's thinking about her too, but she's up. She's thinking about him. She has a a rose which she's tying a yellow ribbon on. Yellow ribbon is of remembrance. We do those. There was a song, tie a yellow ribbon around the oak tree, kind of thing. And yellow ribbons are symbolic. You don't forget. And you remember. Uh, and then she's already got her breakfast fixed. I mean, she's up early, she's doing things, she's thinking about her future husband. She's, thinking of him, thinking of others, putting together roses. And there's the cardinals. They're looking in the window there. They see her, and they're on every page, and there's a pair of them, and I think it's really special. Okay, so this particular scene is the guys they're having a meeting or whatever. They're passing the rose around. I grew up in Alabama. It was an interesting place. I went to a small church there, and my uncle Jimmy, it was a church that we had songs, but we didn't have music. And but the words were always kind of fascinating, and he was fascinated by the words too. And I think he went on to write some pretty famous songs and for people and whatnot. But I was always fascinated by words too, and so it was kind of interesting. We attended the same place, and we just rose apart from one another. And but yeah, the I like the concept of rhyming words and words and this particular one, like you say, is rose and bows and does and all of goes and knows and it's all of those rhyming words like such as that. And um, one of the stories they told in that church one Sunday I was there and was about this rose that gets passed around, and then when it gets passed around, they put it back in the vase, and then all the guys pick a rose, and they pick one, but they don't pick that one. And, I'm sure this story gets told in all kinds of youth camps and places all across America all the time, but it stuck with me. I mean, and so you want to, in a nice way, you want to let your child know that, look, you want to keep yourself wholesome and clean as much as possible, right? I mean, there's a lot of pressure these days, but you want to save yourself. You want to have a good marriage and a good, healthy relationship. And then there's the pot of chili. It's from Silly Millie. It's Rosie's chili. We kind of were back when we were writing Silly Millie. We were working on this, and so we said, well, we'll call it Rosie's chili, and that kind of thing. So now here it is. You see it again. So it's kind of a way to link up different stories and different books. All right, so she's Rosie's on her walk. She's walking to where these fellows are, and she's carrying them a bouquet of roses. And along the way, she's thinking about, stop and smell the roses. So Rose smells the roses with her nose, kind of thing. So it's just kind of one of those things to, help. Rose is a person, Rose is a plant, her nose, you know. Anyway, uh, you know, so I guess you know we're pretty busy these days. People in general, there's a lot of demands on our time, work and family, and technology. It seems like it dominates everything. And a person, you should take time to stop and smell the roses. We have this sofa with this pillow here at the house, and it has this, and this pillow has been on around for a long time. It's a very durable pillow, evidently. But yeah, this is the message is there. Stop and smell the roses. Remind yourself constantly. Life is to be, enjoyed. It's to be treasured. It's supposed to be something that your experience is positive. And so, whatever that thing is for you, uh, literally, we do go around here smelling roses all the time because we got a lot of them planted around here. But during her walk, she sees the lot for sale and the land that's for sale. And so in the Proverbs 31 wife, that's she buys a lot of land, a lot, not well, probably a lot of it too. But there's another interesting play on words, lot, right? So we got a book for that called Tents, so we're working on. So be on the lookout for that one. That's a good one. That's about shepherds and stuff. But anyway. And so, but on the way, she sees, the cardinals, and she sees them again, and it's starting to sink in on her. She sees them everywhere she goes, a nesting pair, so she's starting to begin to think, well, this might be something that's in my future too. So, and as it turns out, that's exactly what happens. But yeah, this is a lot of symbology in this scene. It's a good scene. I like this one a lot. It's clean and it's good, and it's good stuff. And she gets there, and you see the images, the wilted rose in the vase with the thorns, and the guys are all holding the roses that don't have thorns. That's what they want. And Rosie, she's a symbol of freshness, and it's just a beautiful scene. Her standing there, presenting these guys with these roses, pink roses, and the pink roses are a symbol of femininity and esteem. And I'm not sure how that came to be, but pretty much all roses have some type of symbol. And then you have the male and female cardinals with the red roses, which is just a nice touch to this scene. So it's a good one. Sees and meets people all along the way. She has um, um, the green rose is the rose of hope and success. She presents that to a homeless person. The orange rose is appreciation. She's giving that to a police officer. There's a couple people that are demonstrators, and she doesn't, I don't think, necessarily agree with their point of view, but she's like, hey, here's a yellow rose of friendship. We can be friends at least. I mean, I don't have to agree with you, but I don't have to be mean or rude either, and that's a lesson that's a hard one to learn, because these days it seems as though, if you disagree with somebody, well, they just want to, cancel you or do something or belittle you, or and that's not the way to behave. You can not like what someone has to say and just move about your own business, but you don't have to, be rude about it. So she never meets anybody that she doesn't like, and she's always got ready with a rose for everybody. So that's her trademark. This is her. This is where we start the Proverbs 31, 10 to verses 10 through 21. Each one of these verses is associated with a Hebrew letter of the alphabet. So, that's another study altogether, a deeper meaning, if you will, kind of thing. But Rosie bought that land. She bought that land that was for sale. She planted hyssop in the background. Hyssop is a companion crop. It works well with grapes. And so, you want to have things in your life that you're planting that work together well. You don't want to plant things that are in competition with one another. And one of the things that happens is these wild grapes will come up in the vineyard, and someone either plants them there. They're wild grapes are poisonous. They're not good. They don't taste good, and they're planted by the enemy or someone like that. They're kind of similar to the tares, the wheat and the tares that you read about in the New Testament. But in Isaiah, there's a discussion about wild grapes, and it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same parable. The thing about it is that you can't tell, until harvest time. So she'll go through her vineyard and she'll clean out all the poison, the wild grapes, and she'll get them out of her field because they'll just contaminate everything else. And so this is it's a kind of a neat picture. There's a lot of symbology here, but it's good. You can see Rosie. She's young, she's fit, she's strong, she's capable. She's God has truly blessed her. She definitely has God's favor in a lot of ways. She's mentally and physically fit, and she's prospering. So yeah, this is Joe's Kissaten Coffee Cafe. Kissaten is a Japanese word for tea drinking shop, but I made it a coffee shop because I can do that. I'm the author, and no, it's probably bad. But one of the things is a sign is ope, and that's from Jemima Jope. From when Tiva comes from under the porch, and Zope goes ope. But there's actually a business here down the road in Hancock that their open sign never has the N illuminated. It always says open. So I see that pretty much every time I drive through there, and I go, okay, that's enough. I can go ahead. I'm gonna put that in here. So on Joe's coffee shop, there's the word ope and the pair of cardinals. And so she's in there, she's working, she's cleaning the place up and getting things ready and tidied up for business and putting out a rose. And I'm not sure what she's thinking, but she's thinking probably, I hope the person that sits at this table enjoys this rose, and someone she probably never met. So you can do things, nice things for people you never meet or see. And that's a powerful lesson to teach people too. You don't always have to see the results of the seeds you plant or the acts of kindness that you do. They can just be, acts of kindness that you do. So here they are, Rose and Joseph, outside his business. They're having a kind of a meal together. This is out of the Song of Solomon. There's figs and cakes and different types of foods on the table. You can't show everything, but that's what's there. Her business is to the left, and his business is in the middle between that and the Chamber of Commerce. And one of the things it talks about in the Proverbs is, her husband is respected among the elders, and so I imagine they're both members of Chamber of Commerce, and I imagine they're both respected. But this is what that's about. This is showing that they're in it together. They're one's next to the other, and they're both respected in the community. So Rosie's successful too, as I mentioned. She has her business is division of King Solomon's Mines, which is kind of a throwback to the Song of Solomon and whatnot. And her fabric emporium, the two cardinals are kind of shaped in the shape of a crown. So you have King Solomon's crown, the cardinal crown, and you have the crown of thorns, and so Rosie is Jesus planted the thorns. I mean, he's the creator, he planted everything. So, but Rosie's a rose with no thorns, but she keeps that in front of her, reminding her of the sacrifice that was made for her. For Christians, it's clear what that means. And it's part of her business, to not be a person that has causes pain or suffering to other people. And so, and then the ship, the merchant ship, that's part of the Proverbs 31. And you can see they're loading up her cargo. She got lots of cargo. She's got a thriving business there in town. She's also shipping product all over, and she's prosperous. She's very, very prosperous. Okay, so here we go. we got Rosie and Joseph. He's posed the question somewhere along the way here, and they're coming to God, looking for the blessing from God. You got the 10 rays of light, which 10 rays of light. That's a good thing. 10 is a good number. 10 rays of light from above is even better. So they're looking for God's blessing. And she's got her hands raised in praise to God and thinking the word Yeskini, which is the divine kiss. And this is I can remember as a kid, my daughter, I picked her up one time and she just kissed me all over. And I thought it was just the most wonderful thing, and it's a memory that stuck with me, and it just helps, to know that you're loved, and I love her, and it was a wonderful thing. My grandkids, they love me, they hug me, it's just a good feeling, and I'm not sure that God, like, he's looking for good feelings or whatever, but he likes to know you love him, and he loves you, and he cares for you, and so it's a special moment for the two of them. I don't, as kids, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but there was this guy, the televisions used to sign off at like 11, 12 o'clock, and most nights, I'm in bed asleep, gotta go to school, right? But on weekends, I'd see this, this sign off thing, and it had this guy, he'd fly this plane, and he'd fly up in the sky, and he'd go higher and higher, and that always reminds me of my granddaughter when we go out to get in the swing, and I push her and stuff. She's gonna go higher and higher, but I always think about this poem. But eventually, then in the sign off thing, he gets to to the point where he's just, way up there in the sky, and he's like, and he reaches out his hand, and he touches the face of God. I think it's High Flight or something like that. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a really neat thing. It's probably one of the reasons it stuck with me. My brother and I, we get there, we stand in front of TV, put our hands over our hearts, and it was really corny stuff, but it was funny. But man, that poem stuck with me, through life, and it was really neat. And so, I guess if you're considering marriage, and they're getting married, oh, it's wonderful. It's one of them touching moments in the book for me. But you want to teach your children, these major decisions like this, go to God, and say, look, you got your blessing, that kind of stuff, and that's basically what they're doing here. You might want to consider a church, a good church. I got married in a church. It was a good church. It was a country church, salt of the earth people out there in the country, and I mean, just, a lot of uh, biblical teaching that's like sound doctrine. And I mean, at least it was then. I don't know. I haven't been in that church in a long time. But yeah, it was good, And I felt like God's presence was there. And the blessing was there, and so these are things you want to consider. And so this is what they're doing. They're kind of going to God and making sure that this is a good thing. It's actually a really neat scene. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. So I hope you enjoy it. So this particular scene is the wedding scene. They finally make it. They're there to get married, and it's funny how things work out because I told the illustrator, I said, well, make one heart have L in it, and another heart have O, and one have V and E, and have four hearts that spell love. Well, it come back with love spelled out in hearts, which I thought, well, that's not what I asked for, but man, that looks nice, and so I said, well, we can keep that. That's good stuff. And so sometimes things happen. I don't question it. I'm just like, okay, this is the way it's meant to be. And so this is the first time you see him actually holding hands or touching one another, PDA, if you will, public display of affection. Because you really shouldn't be doing a whole lot of that if you're not married. And so, but the heart symbol, this is, you've seen it previously when they were in their early courting phase or whatever, and then you see it here. And the heart symbol is basically, God, He'll write His instructions on your heart, and you'll be. So that's what that's all about. There are 8 paired cardinals here in this scene, which 8 is a good number. There's 1, which is God, and 3, which is the Trinity, and 5, which is grace, and so on and so forth. And so you can look them all up. Their numbers are neat. in the Jamatra, I guess is what they call it. And then so she has the tree of life on her dress, which is really kind of a neat thing because Rosie's, she's truly blessed, and so she's fit, she's smart, she's prosperous, she's successful. She's what everybody you want your children to be, hopefully. And then Joseph has kept himself pure for this day. I mean, he was pure back when they were courting, and he's still wearing the white rose, and so it's a good scene. It's a good wedding scene. I like it a lot. This is my next favorite scene, the first kiss, and you can say he's sitting there, he's thinking kiss a 10, and that's what his restaurant is, kiss a 10. But in this particular case, it means she's a 10. She's everything to him. He's everything to her. It's a perfect union. It's perfect. It's going to be, they're going to be successful. There's not, they've got a lot going for them, and so yeah, I like this scene a lot. This is the wedding day scene. This is the throw that she has on her lap there in the beginning of the book, and she has um, you know, the scripture from Ruth. Ruth is free to go back to her people, but she tells Naomi, "I'll stay with you. Your God will be my God. I'll go where you go. You're my family, and where you are buried, that's where I'll be buried." And so this was the scripture we put in our wedding invitations. I imagine it gets put in a lot of wedding invitations, but it's a real, it's a true vow. It's a true commitment, and when you make a vow like this, you're bound for life. So anyway, the coming kingdom, the star in the sky, it's symbolic of the coming kingdom. Jesus is going to return. He's going to bring his kingdom here to the earth. You want to be prepared for that. You want to be found working. You want to be found clean. You want to be found wholesome. You don't want to be in kind of a bad state of affairs when Jesus shows up. And then there's 10 paired cardinals in this scene. So that's another little thing. There's lots of roses too. I don't know, like 23, 24 roses, something like that. There's a bunch of roses. So yeah, it's a good scene. It's a happy scene. And so this is the final basic scene in the book. I mean, she's married. She's got her bouquet. It was kind of interesting. We got married, and there's the tradition where you throw the bouquet out. You turn your back. You throw it over. Well, my wife, she threw the bouquet, and it split into two, and two different people caught it, and both of those people were married within a year. So, wow, you can't make this stuff up, right? But there she is. She's thinking about her future. And what you see there is her and Joseph. Basically, they're the old people in the trumpet train. They're the ones that are there on the platform getting ready to get on the train. And they're praising Jehovah and the fish symbols in their path, the gods in their path their whole life. And so, but the proverb, basically the cardinal rule, if you will, is to be grateful for the rose with no thorns. My wife she's a wonderful person. She's a lot of the attributes of the Proverbs 31 wife. She has them. Um, I don't know, maybe she can't do them all, but she's pretty close. And but you don't have to be able to do them all. Hey, just pick two or three. I mean, it's a tall order. Proverbs 31 wife is a tall order for anybody. And so pick two or three, do those. Be the best you can at those, and as time goes along, pick another one, do that, and so eventually maybe you can get to where you can do the whole list, or maybe not. I don't know, but just try one of them for just for no reason at all other than just to make yourself better. And so yeah, this is a good scene. This is the cardinal rose rose and no thorns moral of the story. It's a great way to end the book, and she has the ruby necklace, and it's just it's a beautiful scene. This is how you can contact us. You can send us an email. You can send us snail mail, regular postal service. You can, call us. We got a phone number there. You can give us a call. You got a question, we'll do the best we can to answer it. If you don't like the stuff and you want to complain, well, about us or other people, we're not interested in, talking about other people. We don't. They have their thing they do. We have our thing we do. There's no benefit to it. But if you like what you're seeing here and you like what you're hearing, then hang around and watch some of the upcoming videos. I'm thinking with JG and who's Greg, and then we got one on Kismet, so on gambling and the perils of that. So we're touching on a lot of different subjects, and surely you'll find something that's of interest to you. But anyway, that being said, I'm about at my time limit. I don't want to keep you here all day, and I know you got other things to do, but I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate the fact that you buy the book and read the book and listen to what the books are about. I appreciate that, and I'm thankful for it, and I hope that you're blessed and from it. And if there's anything we can do to help you, let us know. We're here to help. So anyway, until next time, I hope you have a good evening or a good day, and bless you. Thank you very much.